So we're diving into Jaipur today, the Pink City. And wow, I've got to say, going through all the stuff you sent over, it's pretty clear there's a lot more to this place than just a kitschy nickname.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so much more than just a color, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's tied to history, to culture. It's kind of a statement about how they view hospitality.
Right, right. So it's like we've got all this information, historical stuff, attractions,
Yeah,
even practical travel tips. It's a lot to unpack.
definitely a lot to unpack.
So I guess where we should start then is, this whole Pink City thing. Where does that even come from? Like, why pink?
Okay, so the information you shared, it lays it out really well. So back in 1876, Maharaja Ram Singh, he decides to paint the entire city pink.
The entire city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the whole thing. And it was all to welcome Prince Albert and Queen Victoria.
Okay, so that's pretty serious commitment to hospitality, really.
Yeah.
But why pink specifically? I mean, were there other colors that would have been like welcoming back then too?
That's a great question. Um, you know, there might have been other colors, but in that cultural context, pink really stood for warmth and welcome. It wasn't just, making things look pretty. It was a cultural thing.
I see. So it was more than just like a one-time decoration for this royal visit. Like they kept it going.
They did. Yeah, and that just shows you how powerful that one decision was. Like it became a part of Jaipur's, identity.
Wow. Okay, so we've got the pink part down. But what about like the actual city? You send over so much about all these amazing attractions. Where do we even begin?
Well, I think, to really get a sense of the history and the architecture, we've got to start with the Amber Fort. It's also called Emmer Fort sometimes. It's about 11 kilometers outside the city.
Amber Fort. Okay, yeah, I've seen pictures. It's gorgeous. What are some of the like can't miss things there?
Oh, there are a few. So first, there's this place called the Sheesh Mahal, the Mirror Palace. And you can just imagine, like, candlelight bouncing off all those mirrors. It's just stunning.
Yeah.
Then there's Ganesh Pol, which is this really ornate gateway with all these paintings. They depict scenes from the life of Lord Ganesh. Each one is symbolic, kind of about overcoming obstacles and good beginnings.
Oh, I see. That's cool.
And the views from the fort, don't even get me started. You look out over Myota Lake, it's incredible.
So the sources mentioned going early in the morning. Why is that?
Two reasons, really. One, it's hot. It gets really hot during the day. And two, the crowds. You go early, you beat both.
Makes sense. Oh, and there was something about elephant rides up to the fort.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you can do that. Get the full royal treatment.
Okay, I'm putting that on my list.
Yeah.
So moving back into the city, we've got the Hawa Mahal, the Palace of Winds. I mean, that's an icon, right?
Absolutely iconic. That 5-story honeycomb facade. You can't miss it. And it's right in the center of the city.
Yeah, it was built for like a pretty unique purpose, right?
Right. So the royal ladies, they couldn't just go out in public, So they built this palace where they could watch everything happening in the street from behind these screens.
Wow. So they could like see everything, but nobody could see them.
Exactly. It's pretty ingenious, actually.
It is. Any tips for seeing the Hawa Mahal? Best time to go, maybe.
Early morning again is best, especially for photos. The light hits it just right. And there's this cafe across the street, a Windview Cafe, that apparently has an amazing view of the palace.
Okay, I'm writing that down. Cafe with a view, check. All right, next up, we have the City Palace. Is that central too?
It is, right in the heart of Jaipur. It's like a whole complex with courtyards and gardens and buildings. You've got to see the Chandra Mahal and the Mubarak Mahal.
I'm guessing those are pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. And there's a museum there, too. Royal costumes, artifacts, all that stuff.
Royal costumes. Okay, I'm already picturing it. Now, you mentioned some gates at the City Palace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something about a peacock gate.
Yeah, the Peacock Gate. It's stunning. Actually, there are 4 main gates. Each one represents a season. They're all incredibly detailed.
Wow.
And then just a short walk from the city palace, you've got Jantar Mantar.
Jantar Mantar. Now, that's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, right?
Right.
The Astronomical Observatory?
That's right. It's basically a park, but instead of trees and flowers, you've got these huge astronomical instruments. They're all made of stone, and they were used to, track the stars and planets and tell time. It's incredible.
Seriously huge.
Seriously huge. And it's got the world's largest stone sundial.
That's something else. So the sources suggest getting a guide for Jantar Mantar. Why is that?
Oh, because without a guide, you're just looking at, big stone structures. A guide can explain what they are, how they work, what they were used for. It makes all the difference.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've hit the Amber Fort, Hawa Mahal, City Palace, and Jantar Mantar. What's next?
Okay, let's head out of the city center again, up to Nahargarh Fort. It's on the edge of the Aravalli Hills.
Nahargarh Fort. That's the one with the panoramic views, right?
You got it. You can see the whole city from there. Especially beautiful at sunset.
Sunset over the Pink City from a fort on a hilltop. Okay, that's going on the list for sure.
And if you're up for it, Jaipur Fort is nearby too. You could do both in one go.
Good to know. Okay, and then the last big attraction we need to hit is the Albert Hall Museum.
Albert Hall Museum, yep. It's in Ram Niwas Garden, and it's the oldest museum in Rajasthan. It's got art, artifacts, even Egyptian mummies.
Wait, Egyptian mummies. In Jaipur.
In Jaipur, apparently it's quite the collection, and they say it's really beautifully lit up at night.
Okay, so that's all the major attractions, right? But Jaipur's got to have more going on than just, buildings and museums. What about the culture?
Oh, yeah, tons of cultural stuff. One of the biggest things is the Elephant Festival.
The Elephant Festival.
Yeah, it happens during Holi, which is in March. It's basically a big parade with elephants all decked out in decorations. They have performances, music, dancing. It's a whole thing.
So it's like a full-on cultural immersion kind of thing.
Exactly. And then there's the Jaipur Literature Festival.
Right, in January or February. That's supposed to be one of the biggest literary festivals in the world, right?
Yeah, it's huge. Authors, thinkers, readers, they all come from all over. One of the sources called it a haven for book lovers.
I can see why. Okay, so we've got culture covered. What about shopping? What about the food?
Well, for shopping, you've got to hit the bazaars. Johari Bazaar for jewelry, Bapu Bazaar for textiles and handicrafts, and Tripolia Bazaar for lac bangles and brassware.
Bazaars. Okay, I'm always up for a good bazaar. Now, the food. Tell me about the food.
Oh, the food. You've got to try Delbati Churma. That's a classic. And Gewar, it's a sweet dish. And then there's Lal Maz, a meat dish, and Pyaz Kachori, which is like a fried pastry.
Oh, man, it all sounds amazing. Any specific places we should try?
The sources recommend Laxmi Mistan Bandar, or LMB, they call it, and Choki Dani, which is supposed to be a really immersive cultural experience. And then there's Rawat Mishtan Bandar.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So let's say someone's listening to this and thinking, okay, I'm booking a trip to Jaipur. What are the practical things they need to know?
Okay, so best time to go is October to March for the weather. Getting around, you can take auto rickshaws, cycle rickshaws, app-based cabs, or rent a scooter or a car.
Easy enough.
And for places to stay, you've got everything from, super fancy heritage hotels like the Ramba Palace to budget guest houses.
So there's something for everyone. Okay, so we've covered a lot, right? The big history, the attractions, the culture, shopping, food, travel tips. What would you say are the key takeaways here?
I think the big things are Jaipur is a planned city, which is pretty cool. It's full of history and culture. And the pink, it's not just a color. It's a symbol of, hospitality and welcome. And the city just has so much to offer.
Yeah, it's like history isn't just in a museum. It's everywhere you look. And this is all, from the stuff you sent over. We just kind of, put it all together.
Yeah, exactly. Like hopefully a fun and informative way to learn about Jaipur.
Definitely fun. So I guess thinking about everything we've talked about, the Amber Fort, the Hayya Mahal, the bazaars, the food, the pink. I mean, what really stands out to you? What would you want to explore more?
That's a tough one. I mean, it all sounds amazing, right? But I think for me, it's the history. Like, I'd want to learn more about the Maharajas, the battles, the whole story of how Jaipur came to be.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for me, it's the Elephant Festival. Like, that just sounds so unique. And Holi itself is such a vibrant festival. I think seeing that in Jaipur would be, pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, there you have it, folks. A little peek into the Pink City. Hopefully this has inspired you to learn more, to maybe even plan a trip of your own. And hey, if you do, let us know what stood out to you. We'd love to hear your stories.
Absolutely. Let us know.
Until next time, happy travels.
Happy travels.